Welcome into Emerald and Lilywhite. This is episode 13. This is the Derby episode. It's Derby week, North London Derby specifically. Let's go. Not a bigger week as a Spurs fan when you square off against that lot from down south, Woolwich. Gonna be a tough one though. They're a good team. We all know that, right? From a footballing perspective, they're doing well. Maybe better than Spurs are at the moment. We're hot on their heels for sure, but it's gonna be a tough one. Before we get into it, I want to bring Max in. You guys know Max by now. I go to Limbs. Max, what's up, man?
Not much, not much. Yeah, a boring week without the Premier League last weekend. But I don't know. I think Spurs maybe needed a little bit of a break. So now we're recalibrating. I'd say almost 100% fit at
Yeah,
this point. So that's exciting. And then we had like American football, NFL college football returning to keep us occupied for last week. So
no
that's
doubt.
always fun. But yeah, now we're back to the early morning grind. Um, it's on Saturday morning, right? Or is
Sunday,
Sunday?
9 a.m.
Okay.
Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific.
Right,
I'll
right.
actually
Okay.
be on the West Coast this weekend, so I'll be grinding through the 6 a.m. with
Okay,
right
yeah.
there with you,
Sunday,
man.
6 a.m. I'll be at the Wits. So
No doubt, no doubt. I
catch
won't
me
be in
at the
Seattle,
Wits
but
for all you guys. And yeah, hopefully we can get it done. I remember I don't know if Scott was at the Wits last year with us for NLD
I believe
away.
so.
It was 2-2, but I was with Keegan and Chang. So I think we're gonna try and do that again and hopefully see us beat the shite for the first time in a couple years. So
Let's go. Yeah, if you're in Seattle, get down to the Wits End. If you're down, excuse me, down south on the south side, you know where you're going. It's Cascades and Puyallup. We'll be ready to rock. There'll be plenty of Spurs fans. Beers be flowing, coffee's flowing if it's not your thing. Food.
a lot of coffee's flowing.
Yeah, a lot of coffee's flowing at the 6 a.m. out on the West Coast, right? Some crazy fools out there that'll be putting back the Guinnesses, but yeah, it'll be an exciting morning, and no better time to be with your fellow Spurs brethren. If you lose, you got people to solace with, and if we get the dub, then you're celebrating. So yeah, get down to the bars, support Seattle Spurs, and yeah, like you said, before we get into the Spurs of it all, it was an off week. There was some stuff going on. My Iowa State Cyclones got a big win against the Hawkeyes, cross state rivalry on the road.
Congrats.
Huge win for us, man. Thanks. And yeah, you said NFL kicked off. U.S. men's national team played, and
Do we have to talk about it?
yeah, I was gonna say I think we may want to just touch on the U.S. men's national team very briefly. We are a Spurs pod, but there's a connection here. Obviously, two pretty shit results for the men's national team. We would have to say, right? Losing to Canada on home soil, which hasn't happened in 20 some years, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 30 some. That's tough, and then losing or dropping 2 points to New Zealand late in the match, kind of unacceptable. Just two pretty shitty deals for the men's national team, but it's okay. It will be fixed. We're heading in the right direction because as of yesterday, the United States men's national team has announced that Mauricio Pochettino is officially in charge of not only the men's national team but seemingly the men's program, which I think is pretty fantastic from top to bottom. We're talking the youth ranks all the way up through the men's national team. Pochettino's calling the shots. Have to assume Jesus Perez will be right by his side. Tony Jimenez should be overseeing goalkeeping. So yeah, Poch's staff is with him, and it's super exciting. Again, we're a Spurs pod, but there's a deep connection here. So before we get into the North London Derby, I'll just ask you, man, what are your thoughts on not only what not only the emotion behind all of this, but what are the prospects of this program getting its shit under control under Pochettino?
Yeah, I think we're relying on Poch as kind of like a reload for 2026, right?
Yeah.
We're unfortunately not in a position where we can do a full rebuild, like a full tear down, like not that we can buy players, but just like revamping like the squad, maybe giving new guys some looks for Poch. if we had a full 4-year cycle here, but we do not because we are idiots and we rehired Greg Berhalter instead of firing him. This could have happened 2 years ago. We would be in a much better spot. Anyway, 2 years. Poch, he has a month now. October 12th is the date of his first game to get to know the system top to bottom. And we'll see what he does with it. I'm just excited to see how certain players play under it and if certain other players might not be featured as prominently as they once were under
Yeah.
Greg. I
Yep.
don't know who that may be right now, but I'm excited to see who Poch favors.
Agree, man. I think the days of not getting minutes at your club, but the U.S. being a place for you to come get minutes for some of these guys, those days are done. There's no favors, there's no handouts like there were under Berhalter, under Pochettino, and he's not some like ruthless cutthroat dude that's chopping decks by any means. We know that, but he also holds his team to a very high standard. I heard a story this morning actually on Morning Footy, where Pochettino does this thing a week or two into a new club where he films players arriving to training, and then he sits down with them and dissects their body language as they're arriving to training. Do they appear to be going to work? Do they appear to be going to play soccer? There's a difference there for sure, I think. And then talks about the importance of not coming to work, right, but coming to train and play a game you love and get better every day. So those are the types of things that I think the U.S. needs. The captain, Tyler Adams, was on the Men in Blazers podcast and said, totally paraphrasing here, but it was time for a manager to come in and give some of these players a kick up the ass. Shit, he may even be one of them. I don't necessarily think so, but
I think he is.
I mean, I think Tyler Adams brings that attitude and that grit and that will to fight that we haven't seen since like the Dempsey days, in my opinion. I think Tyler Adams is the one guy that has that. But I do agree that he hasn't been good enough. I think Yunus Moose is a guy.
He's just not good. I'm sorry. I'm just going to get this takeoff. We're not going in depth. Tyler Adams is not good to me. Like, I don't know, like, what he's good at. Like,
yeah. It's not an unfair take, man.
I mean, he works hard. I'll give him that. But, like, it's just like, it's like, come on, dude. Like, he makes the simple passes. I get it. He'll defend fairly well, but also he can be rash and he can give the ball away. And it's just he makes too many mistakes to be a 6. And I don't think he's technical enough to play that role for Poch. I mean, we saw the midfield that we played with under him. It was Moussa Dembele, probably like the most gifted footballer I've seen in the middle for a long time. And then obviously you've got like Eriksson and Deli in front of him, absolutely brilliant players, and then someone else with a massive engine playing in the double pivot like Sissoko. And I just don't see him, or like Wanyama, I don't see him as like the physical specimen of those guys.
So. Yeah, I don't disagree, man. I mean, the first player that comes to mind when I'm starting to think of how does Pochettino build out a midfield is Yunus Musa. I think Yunus Musa is a very strong profile for the Poch system. I think he's going to be a staple in the Pochettino era and probably somebody that Pochettino builds his tactics around. Honestly, I think Yunus Musa is very talented. It'd be interesting to see who he pairs with, assuming Poch run the 4-2-3-1 that he tends to run. He ran a little bit of a 4-3-3 at PSG, right? But they're very similar in nature, those two formations. Anyways, super exciting times for the men's national team. And I think, if someone asked me a couple months ago to put together a realistic group of names that we could go after, Pochettino would be on there, and he'd be absolute option number one in terms of realistic people that we can bring in, right? Dead on number one. And honestly, frankly, somebody that I would just feel like was a bit of a pipe dream. So I think Poch at times gets a little bit of stick because he fell short in a few occasions, right? With Spurs especially. But getting to a Champions League final is getting to the pinnacle of football, right? You don't win it, but it's a massive deal. And he's obviously cleaned up in France, which he should have, right? I'm not going to give him a ton of flowers for that, but he cleaned up in France and did wonderful things at Chelsea last year. He's a world-class manager. So, super exciting times. But, let's shift to Spurs. This is North London Derby week. A lot going on. We're coming off an international break on one hand. Super excited that should mean everybody's fit and healthy. It sounds like Basuma's potentially out after
Yeah,
picking up
and
a knock on
Richarlison.
international. Oh, is he Richarlison
Yeah,
still
those
out?
two are the ones. They haven't been ruled out of the match. But from what I'm hearing, Richarlison is more of a long shot. And Basuma, it sounds like to me he's hurt. Like it was a recent injury, I think earlier this week. So for me, I think Basuma it's a knock. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the bench. I don't know if he's starting because of it. So
Word, yeah. It was on international duty with Volley that he picked this knock up. So we'll
yeah.
see. But yeah, let's start across the way. Let's start down south in Woolwich. List of strong names that are unavailable. Declan Rice is out. Calafiori's out. Mikel Merino is out, and him and Calafiori very new to the setup, obviously. Most importantly, Martin Odegaard's out with an injury that should put him on the sidelines for at least 3 to 4 weeks, if not a little bit longer. It sounds like there is no fracture in the ankle, which was the fear, I guess. But he'll still be out for a good month. So no Rice, no Odegaard. It's good news for Spurs.
Yeah, it's really quite good news for Spurs. Declan Rice red card. I don't know, just don't do that when you have a yellow. I'm not going to comment on how soft it may be. Just don't be a fucking idiot, and you don't get sent off there. Odegaard, obviously never want anyone to get injured, but we can't understate the gravity of this absence. I mean, him and Saka pretty much create every chance for Arsenal. Solely those two. Martinelli doesn't offer that much in terms of his chance creation. Neither does Havertz. He's turned into more of a traditional striker there rather than like a false nine creating chances. So that's their production there cut in half. And they just drop points to Brighton. If they drop points to us, who knows how many, maybe 2 or 3. And then they drop points a couple other times during a month stretch when they also have Champions League football and the Carabao Cup to play without Martin Odegaard. Their season, their title hopes could be very well buried by the time Martin Odegaard gets back. So obviously we would love that. And that's just something to monitor because it's really something Arteta hasn't overcome yet is the injury crisis, which hasn't hit Arsenal his entire tenure. They've been the healthiest team in the league the past 2 years, and usually that's the team that wins the league, but not in City's world. So I'm
Yeah,
really interested to see what happens with Arsenal over this next month.
yeah, it's a good show, man. It'd be nice if we could knock a couple of those points off of their platter ourselves this weekend. I do believe, and I had this conversation with another buddy of mine, Dakota, that Spurs are somewhat at risk here of maybe facing some complacency because of this, right? I think, Dakota said it best. There's been times where Spurs have maybe played down to the level of their opponent, and I don't expect that this weekend in the North London Derby, but I just really don't want us to take anything for granted and bring any level of complacency because their two key players are out. We are frankly, and I hate saying it, but we're frankly not where they are as a club and an organization, right? We're working hard to get there, but they're really good footballing side, and they'll find a way to continue to be a good footballing side, especially this being that this is the first match without Odegaard, right? I think some of the challenges you discuss, which again, very well said, are going to come from again numerous matches in a week, but they're going to be on fresh legs just as much as we are. So it'll be a really good team, and we'll have a lot to do. Let's look at Spurs. Let's go through what we think we'll see. Obviously, Vicario's in net. Do you think Van de Ven returns? It sounds like he's healthy, correct?
Yep, don't see why not. He has to play in this game. It's crucial to our success that Mickey Van de Ven is starting in this game. Yeah.
Agreed.
Especially on the side that Saka, like not marking Saka, but if Saka gets past or Udogi's not tracking back, that is who you want defending him.
Yeah, and Udogie, frankly, hasn't been great this season. So we need Van de Ven, and I think if there wasn't a Mickey Van de Ven, doesn't look good for us. I think he's the one guy that I agree with you keeps the game within reach. We're gonna play our high line, no questions asked, and I'm fine with it. With Saka and Martinelli, they're gonna be ready to rock for sure. You could even potentially see Raheem Sterling in this match. I don't know, right? He's on loan. I doubt
Maybe
it,
off
but
the bench. Maybe
off the bench for sure. I think he'd be a good option, but he's pacey. And he's historically done pretty well against Spurs. So I think if you give Sterling room to operate in the manner that we're going to, he could be a threat. So he'll be sniffing around. But yeah, you already said it. Saka's fantastic. Martinelli, I don't think offers as much as Saka, but still a good player who's comfortable on the ball, on the counter. I think Arsenal will be set up to counter very efficiently in this match. I'm not saying they're going to give us the possession that an Everton did or whatever, but I do expect them to come out and be prepared to counter against Spurs, and they'll be prepared to counter well. So yeah, we'll need Van de Ven, and then have to assume the back line picks itself at this point, right? For Romero Udogie. Midfield's interesting, man.
Actually, I got Reggie on. You
got Reggie on at left
no.
back. Let's go. It's a bold move, man.
Hey man, you might as well play. No, you might as well play him if he's staying.
Shit, man, we could do a whole other pod about Reggie on at this point.
No, but
guys just hanging around Spurs.
Yeah, we know who's playing in the back. This is every time we do the Lilywhite will look ahead. Back four is the least of our discussion. So
it picks itself, man. It picks itself. I completely agree. Four of the best defenders in their respective positions in the league, in my opinion.
You love that because in years before last year, the back four is like, what are we doing? Every game, it's like a new jumble of probably the worst players you've ever seen.
Dude,
and it was diabolical. So thank God we have this. Okay, back four. Let's move on to the midfield where it gets a lot more interesting.
For sure, man. You said it already. Basuma's out potentially. We probably right at this point with that injury from international duty. Who's your sixth?
So my six is Archie Gray.
Okay.
I think he gets the shout. He's coming off international duty. I just like what I've seen from him this season. He hasn't started yet. Obviously, this is a huge spot to start him in. I can think of another 18, 19-year-old who maybe got a debut start, whatever it may be, in North London derby, maybe scored a big goal a couple years back. And, I want to see Archie, and I can't think of a better matchup for him because the lack of a Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. Like, who's he going to have to deal with in the middle? Like, I'm fine with him having to deal with a Kai Havertz and Jorginho rather than Martin Odegaard and Declan Rice.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. So I like Archie, and that's not a slant on Bentancur because I kind of want Bentancur in that 8 role because I think he would be more dynamic creating chances than Pop Sarr at this stage in the season. So who do you think for the 2 holding ones, and then we'll get up to the attacking one?
I think my gut instinct was to say Bentancur would be in the 6, and we may see that Kulusevski-Madison dueling 8-10s, right?
Okay.
I do think there's, and this comes from another conversation I had earlier today, but I do think there's value in, without Rice being there, I think there's value in those 2 players playing and having a little bit more breathing room to operate. But I like what you're saying about Archie Gray and Bentancur. I think they give you a little bit more stability. I hate saying it, but I'm not comfortable with Pop Sarr being on the pitch in this match. I haven't seen enough from him this season.
Yeah.
There's too much at stake, and I think he plays a role, but I'm not ready for that. So I like the Gray Bentancur 6-8 discussion for sure. Bentancur is. It's so easy to forget. He's incredibly talented. I mean, he's so good, and he's injured often, and his press hasn't been great as of late, right? Regardless of circumstance, which I think I can't fault the guy for defending his family when Commie Bullhead botched the whole fucking tournament. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
I can fault him for being racist, though, so he's not really helping
1000%,
himself.
1000%. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. That bullshit was sunny.
Yeah.
I think, while we're on it, I think the frustrating thing about that is it's so much more than a team issue, right? That's a human being worldwide issue that's a real problem right now. And so yeah, Sun said we're good and we moved on as a group, but like it's so much bigger than that. So I'm glad you bring that up.
Yeah.
Bad press, but he's definitely a talented footballer, and I think his technical ability coupled with his ability to break up play and create going forward. I mean, he's really the only true, complete rounded midfielder that we carry at Spurs, I think. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value in him being on the pitch, and then I think Matters is there. He's been real good this season.
Matters
man.
has to be 10. And for
too.
me, it's just like the fluidity of having Bentancur and Gray is a lot safer to me in this game because, like, even if Arsenal they don't have these two midfield presences we keep discussing, what are they going to do? They're going to try and counterattack us. And like Madison and Kulu, I don't really trust them to like break up play. So I'd rather have two like midfielders that are going to get back and also are kind of interchangeable, with Archie primarily holding, but he can also play some progressive passes. And I do think that Tottenham has more of the ball in this game. I think Declan Rice is so huge for Arsenal's possession and the way we've been playing away at Newcastle, dominating the ball. I think we're dominating the ball in every fixture this season. So I think those two would be the best option for us. I think Ange will disagree with me personally, but I'm excited to see what he does there. And then obviously, like you said, Madison at the 10 has to start.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and like you said, Ange will know what's best, and of course we'll support whatever
I don't know if he'll know what's best, but he'll know what he thinks is best.
He'll probably he'll know more than I will. We'll say,
if we're hopping on here shitting on Pop Sar again for the third week in a row, I'm gonna be like, okay, Ange, let's come on, like
listen to the show, man.
Yeah.
Just gotta listen to Emerald and Lilywhite, and your team will pick itself. Yeah, we'll see though, man. Ainge is gonna have his hands full, so a lot to be seen. Front three, we're thinking Solanke starts at the striker position.
He has to,
right?
Yeah. He
He
would have scored a hat trick against Newcastle if he was in there. So
yeah,
got it.
Agreed. And I think there's going to be times where we're going to need someone who can attack the ball in the air. They're defensively astute. We've had a hard time breaking down good defenses, and they're not going to block in ways that we've seen this season. But they're very sound defensively, and they don't make mistakes. And we've struggled to put the ball in the back of the net. So there's going to come a time where I see a Pedro Porro cross on the head of Solanke as maybe an option for us to create some chances. And I actually think we'll get to the wings, but Solanke will give them better outlets than what they've gotten, numerous of them respectively over the past couple of matches. But yeah, Solanke up the middle, and then we have to assume Son's on the left, right? Yep. There's nobody else for that position. That's his. The right wing is interesting. I think Wilson Odegaard has to be discussed. I actually think Brendan Johnson has to be considered, mainly because Solanke's back. And then I think Dejan Kulusevski may be considered as well.
I think at this point we would have seen him on the wing. Like, we haven't seen him on the wing at all. Like,
you're right.
All.
He played the 9 again against everything.
Every single minute he has not been on the right. So I think that it's just dead. Like, I've stopped considering him there. I just consider him in Matters in the midfield. On the right wing, I'm gonna start Odegaard just because he looked absolutely magical for France. I don't know if you got the chance to see.
I didn't watch, but I heard
he was unbelievable. Just taking people on, whipping the ball in. It was brilliant. Obviously, at the youth level, U21 level, still great player. I think he starts, and then like we've talked about all the time, Brennan Johnson. When is he best? Off the bench. Love to see him off the bench in this game. I think this is a perfect game for him to come off the bench, and I think it would be malpractice not to bring him off. So I'm not dropping, or I guess not dropping because he didn't start last game. I'm not slighting Brennan Johnson by not starting him because how good he was last game
Yeah.
may warrant a start in some eyes, but we got to know our players' strengths, and his strength is going to be coming on either at halftime or 60, 70th minute, depending on the game conditions, and helping us grab a couple more points if they're available. So,
Dude, it's interesting. I completely agree with you. I'd start Odebear as well. I think there's going to be room to operate for sure. But I completely agree with the Brennan Johnson bit. And obviously, I'm a Brennan Johnson fan. But I mean, you and I both played the sport. There's times where I did feel a little bit more comfortable once I had seen the flow of a match, right, and had a better idea of how I wanted to come in and try to make an impact. And he might just be one of those guys, right? So it's not only his pace and and his ability to beat his man. I don't think so much technically, right? But he can beat his man off the dribble with his pace. It's not only that, but it could just be a mentality and a comfortability thing. Some guys thrive off the bench, right? So I agree. I think Brennan Johnson coming on in the 60th minute is a wonderful way for us to continue to make an impact. And Odebear being young, I mean, I think that's about right for him. Play the first half and then a little small chunk of time in the second half, continue to bet in, continue to find your feet at this new level, right? And of course, he was in the Premier League last year, but this is a different beast, right? This North London Derby is going to be the biggest club match that he's ever played in, maybe the biggest match that he's ever played in.
Match in England. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
By a far, there's no rivalry that touches it right now. So,
100%, man. Yeah, this will be the biggest potentially football match he's ever played in. So. It'll be interesting, but I believe in him, and I think I'd go with Odebear as well. And then as far as guys, I'm not saying we predict or project subs, but as far as guys that can come off the bench other than Brennan Johnson and make an impact, who comes to mind?
Yeah, for me, Kulisevsky. If we're needing a goal, just slide him right in for Archie Gray. Drop bench to the 6 in my lineup. Boom. He can create some chances. Hopefully not Timo Werner. And then Bergvall. I think Bergvall has a role to play in this game if we're chasing the game, even if we're level, but it feels like, we can go win this game. Get Lucas Bergvall on the pitch. He's been balling for the Sweden senior team, his first caps for them. I know I'm shouting Archie Gray. I'm shouting Odebear. Bergvall off the bench. Trust these guys because they're not only the future, but they're also the present. And we got to trust the youth because this is what, we're building the foundation on the shoulders of these dudes. They need experience in the biggest game for Tottenham every season, which is the North London Derby. So just get them out there and make them feel the atmosphere, feel White Hart Lane at its finest, and just see what they can do, because I think the thing about those three guys is that they are not scared of anything. Especially Lucas Bergvall. He plays with such a confidence that he would not be fazed by the moment. So want to see him in this match as well. And then if we're locking down the game, get Radu in there, maybe even a Ben Davies, get Basuma on if he's available, and just hunker down and defend if we're in the lead. So
I like the Ben Davies shout, man. Not only is he an incredibly intelligent footballer, but he knows the magnitude of this match better than anybody except Sonny, in my opinion, or equally to Sonny, right? I love it. Bergvall too. I completely agree. I think Bergvall makes an impact if given the opportunity. I still think we're a month to 6 weeks away from seeing Lucas Bergvall start fairly often. I really do. I think he needs some time.
Next week, Coventry.
for sure, 100%, man. He will start in that match, but I'm talking Premier League. I think
Yeah.
we're 6-ish weeks away from him being a starter on this team. Probably alongside Madison, and then whoever wants to win the battle for the 6. I think Bergwall will be the starting 8 before too long, and then I think a couple years from now, and I can't wait for this, we'll have an Archie Gray, Pop Star, Lucas Bergwall midfield. And I think that's the ultimate goal. I think Sarr needs to continue to find ways to impress, but at the same time, like, I can't sit here and give Pop Star a hard time and praise Lucas Bergwall. Like, Pop Star was amazing last year.
Like, we're slighting Sarr a bit. He's the only one of those three that has like a season under his belt where for 3/4 of it he was really good, and we're like, nah, it's that Toy Story meme. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Exactly, man. We're just, the new shiny thing is Lucas Bergwall and Archie Gray. So no, but for sure, there's a world where Archie Gray, Pop Star, and Lucas Bergwall are maybe one of the best midfield trios in the league in the near future, a couple of years or whatever. But yeah, Bergwall I think will make a big impact, and we'll see. I think the other thing we have to ask ourselves is tactically, does Ange adjust here? Do we go out and play our standard and Postecoglou system? I think when I asked this question, I kind of look back to the City match, second to last match last year, where we did adjust a bit tactically right and come out with a bit more of a pragmatic approach and got if I'm not mistaken, a good draw up at the Etihad. But yeah, do we adjust our tactics, or are we just going for blood in this
one? The game we lost.
Did we lose that game to City?
Yeah, we wanted to. We lost on purpose.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we looked good though. We looked good.
We did. We did. I was scared. I was like, whoa!
Shit, I forgot
what's
about
wrong
that,
here? And then Sonny missed the 1v1 on purpose. He's never missed that before in his life. I just want it on the record. That was so I've never seen him miss that in my entire life.
Dude, Ortega was just a baller that day.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, no, I think Ange is a stubborn guy, and we're at home, and with the midfield that they're gonna put out, which is probably gonna be Partey. Fuck that guy for numerous reasons. Jorginho, who sucks, and maybe Kai Havertz, throw Trossard up top. Like I honestly don't know what they're gonna do there.
Jesus, maybe he's fit.
Dude, he's not fit. He's not fit, actually.
No.
I think. Yeah, or if he is, I'd love to see him. He's so bad. He hasn't played in like 2 years. But yeah, so that's what we're dealing with. I kind of like how we match up against him in this game with those 2 injuries. As much as I don't want to jinx it, I just like what we're doing. I think we're gonna have a lot of the ball, and I think we're gonna kind of dominate the game. Not saying we'll win. We'll give our official predictions in a second, but we'll have the ball for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Midfield battle is there to be won for sure in this match, like you just said. So every reason to think we can, and like we both said, we'd like to see Archie Gray be a part of that. But yeah, time will tell. Big one coming up. We've talked about Arsenal a little bit. We don't need to talk about them anymore. I'm not really interested in having that conversation.
I can just run through what I think. Like I've been on Arsenal Twitter trying to gauge like what their lineup will be. I just went through the midfield.
Yeah, what'd you see?
The back line, I think it's going to be Ben White on the right, and then Saliba Gabriel. On the left back, it's a little interesting. I don't know if they would want to go Zinchenko so he can invert and kind of help out the midfield, or if they're going to go Timber, which is what they've been going with. Doesn't really matter to me. I kind of would prefer if Zinchenko played because they already have like 3 center backs. If they have 4 center backs, we have problems breaking teams down all the time. Don't love that. And then up top, Martinelli, Saka, and then if Havertz is playing the midfield, it's probably going to be Trossard, Jesus. It doesn't matter. I'm most scared of Trossard and Saka. But as long as we can keep, I don't know, Saka does the same thing every time. Can we just figure out like he's cutting in? It's not that hard. He never goes to the touchline. So
yeah. On Udogi. Udogi will need a big game. I think Udogi cannot put a foot wrong in this match.
He can't.
It's going to have to be perfect. Completely dialed in, locked in. 402. Both of these fullbacks are going to have a big one. Yeah, they're going to be dangerous regardless of Rice and Odegaard being out. They always will be. Trossard also scares the shit out of me. He's a shifty little player, man, and he seems to be really just betting in the move and really taking in the move and taking it well and just playing really well for Arsenal when it matters. He scored some big goals for them last year.
He is an eye for goal for sure.
Yeah, he does, man. So, yeah, this is going to be a match where I expect him to play really well. I completely agree with you. Yeah, do we want to talk predictions? I think there's not much to go over as far as the academy and the loan players this week, right? Because
yeah.
International performances. So we'll touch on that briefly. But before we do, let's wrap on the North London derby. What do you think, man? What's your gut telling you?
My gut is telling me. My head is telling me 2-2. My heart is telling me 2-1 Spurs. I'm going to go with my heart. 2-1 Tottenham. Like I said, we can't win 1-0. We have to score 2. And that will be the biggest challenge in this game. I'm not too worried. This could come back to bite me. I'm not too worried about Arsenal attacking wise right now. I think the way we get exploited is on the counter, and it's where it always is, the lack of fullback support in attack. If Van de Ven's healthy, I feel a lot better. We can't score 1 goal and win. We can maybe get away with a draw, but I think we grab 2 goals, and I think it's Dominic Solanke and it's Heung-min Son, and I think Sonny gets the winner, 79th minute, book it. Tottenham take all 3 points. Arsenal are in the mud. It's a Liverpool City title race, with maybe Spurs coming in at third this season. No, but yeah, 2-1 Tottenham. Come on, you Spurs. Let's go. Fuck Arsenal. Biggest match of the season, and it won't get bigger than this until the new year. So soak it in.
I love it, man. I love it. You heard it here first. Fuck Arsenal. 2-1 Spurs. I like you. My head's telling me 2-2 draw, and I hate saying it. I take a point at home to Arsenal right now, but I'm also going to go with my heart, which is telling me 3-2 Spurs. I think we find a third goal.
That would be awesome.
I will also say, this is not my prediction, but if I will say if Van de Ven for some reason isn't able to play, we'll get beat 4-1 in this match. I think he makes that big of a difference in this moment in time, especially against Arsenal. But yeah, I'm going to go 3-2 Spurs. I also like a Solanke goal. I like a Sonny goal like you.
Pops up.
And I'm thinking Pedro Porro.
Ooh, a little screamer.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a firm shot that curls to the outside, right? It's going to hit it somewhat with the outside of his foot. It might be one of those like dip to the outside shots that he hits so well, man. But yeah, I'm thinking of Pedro Porro banger. I think that's the second goal though. So I'm going to join you in saying that Sonny scores the winner. I want to see Sonny do something cool, man. I want to see him rip the shirt off, jump into the crowd, take a couple fines, man.
Oh God, I don't know. Like, I can't recall in my Tottenham fandom. Obviously, Sonny has been present for a lot of it, but he just comes up in the big game, like repeatedly, every big game. Who is at the forefront of our attack?
Yeah.
It's Sonny. Harry Kane, we know what happens. Son, you can count on him to deliver.
100%, man. Dude, that game, the Champions League match against City.
That's the one
VAR.
you think of.
Yeah, the VAR match. I was at the wits' end. This one I was moving to Seattle. So I hadn't even moved to Seattle yet. I was out just like hanging out in a hotel for 2 weeks working because I moved with my company or whatever. And my wife was still back in Houston. I went to the wits over my lunch break, and I don't work for that company anymore. So whatever, fuck it. I was definitely not working. I was at the bar, and fell over at the register. I was squaring away on my tab when VAR called that goal off. That was just what a moment. And as you said, Sonny's at the forefront of that. He's
Yeah,
such a
do
big
you
game
know who I
player, man.
am?
Thank you.
Coldest
Exactly.
Spurs moment.
That was after Pep said the Harry Kane team. Is that right?
Yep, yep. The
That's
Harry
so
Kane
sick.
team. We played the whole fucking fixture, both fixtures without him. Like,
Dude.
okay.
Oh, dude, Sonny's such a fucking badass.
The
It's such a big
lamppost.
game player. Yeah.
The
Oh yeah, off his
lamppost
hip.
off his hip.
Yeah, that's right, dude. Dude, what a great signing Fernando Llorente was for Spurs, man. He like came
Yeah,
in big and just did a great job. And yeah, we should have gotten more out of that season, man. We should have won the Champions League.
for
Fucking
sure.
handball. Um, but yeah, Sonny will be at the forefront of anything that happens that's good in these big top six matches. He thrives in them, man. And I do think some of it's because the top six gives us space to operate in, unlike other teams, right? And Sonny will always do well when he's afforded space. He has a hard time finding space against blocks, but when he's afforded space, he thrives. So I expect a big match from Sonny, and he's a leader, man. Everybody's going to be looking to him in the locker room. You've got all these new faces and guys who have never played in a North London derby who are going to be important, or maybe have only played in one or two, right? And everyone's going to look to Son to lead them out. Keep everybody's emotions in check and calm and focused on the goal. So yeah, we need a big one from Sonny. We need a big one from Van de Ven, and we need a big one from Sonny if we're going to get anything out of this match. And you heard it here first, folks. I'm rolling Lilywhite. Tottenham gets 3 points. Max says 2-1. I'm saying 3-2.
Let's
Come on,
go.
you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Real quick, of course, our two segments brought to you by respectively the Wits End in Finney Ridge and Cascades and Puyallup. We have our loan watch and our academy watch. Again, not much to cover here, guys. We want to always do everything we can at Everett Lilywhite to keep focus on the loan players and the academy players, especially Max, who is a diehard academy guy through and through. But again, not a whole lot to talk about because there's been no Spurs since we last recorded. Max, did anybody who was on international duty from the youth ranks or loan players have a standout performance?
Leo Black, 87th minute equalizer for the England U18s against your Italians, I believe.
Yep.
What a player. He's going to be one that's going to be exciting. Loan, obviously, nothing there because none of those players are getting called up. I guess Ashley Phillips.
Yeah, he got
Dane
called up.
Scarlett grabbed a goal today. And I still see people hyping him on Twitter. Like, look, dude, he's captaining the England U20s by some gift from God. He's not good. I don't want to rain on his parade, but he scored today. So if you're into Dane Scarlett, like, congrats. And then I just want to touch on leaving Jed Spence out of the Europa League squad.
Yeah,
Asinine decision. We're taking 4 fucking goalkeepers for what, fam? For what? Just drop Forrester. We don't need him. He's been featuring on the bench, or he featured on the bench against Newcastle. So I guess he's still the second choice. Austin is well and good enough for me. Especially, we need to rotate Poro in those matches, especially the home ones. Fairly easy fixtures. Beyond me that Spence is not in the team for the group stage only, not for the whole competition. So we'll see where we go from there. But I know you're upset about that too, so I'll let you wax poetic on it.
Yeah, just like you, I thought it was a really strange decision. Not only because, as you said, Forster could have been dropped, and then all the homegrown blah 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 that I don't understand what the quota would have been met, right?
Yeah,
If it came down to Forster or Spence, which it seemingly did, we went in an odd direction, in my opinion. I don't think Fraser
it's just
Forster is
wrong.
required.
It's objectively wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean Fraser. I think Fraser. We look at Fraser Forster and we remember the Fulham match last year because that was his appearance, his lone appearance. We remember the penalty shootout, which was fucking abysmal for Fraser
So
Forster,
bad.
but he had a really good match, bar the penalty shootout against Fulham. He came up with 3 massive saves that got us the penalties. So I still think there's value in Fraser Forster. I don't want him at a penalty shootout, right? But he's still a good player who's a leader for sure. I think this is kind of silly, but the club came through and did this social media thing where everybody got on the camera and said their best friend at the club, and 4 or 5 guys said Fraser Forster. And these were guys that were like Sonny and like important guys, right? So I think Madison maybe said it. I can't remember.
Madison and Brennan.
That's right. That's right.
Other,
yeah, but it was like
everyone besides those two, and then like Sonny and Ben Davies obviously.
Yeah.
And then everyone else,
right.
It was like,
Fraser
Forster. He's the funniest guy ever. So
yeah, dude. So everybody loves him. So there's value, man. It was a weird decision. I feel bad for Jets fans. I would have thought these would have been prime minutes for Jets fans.
Yeah, I guess we see him in the league. I think so. I think maybe it's like a positive for him. Like we don't know yet.
I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
you took the words out of my mouth because he's featured a couple times already.
Every game besides Newcastle, I think.
Exactly. So you're right, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're right. I think that there's every reason to think you can put a positive spin on this too, and say, okay, Archie Gray is going to supplement minutes and Pedro Porro in the Europa League. Cups are yours, Jed, and you're going to be the backup in the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? But it was just a weird deal. I'm bummed for him, man. Those would be fun trips for him to be a part of. And but again, like you said, come knockouts, assuming we get there, and we better fucking be there. Come knockouts, every reason to think he'll be included in that squad. So we'll see.
Should be. Yeah. I don't have much else to say. Next week we start hellish stretch in the Spurs schedule where we're playing every week, twice a week. From next week on out, we got Coventry next week, Carabao Cup, and then we got Europa League picking up after that. So a lot of rotation, a lot of guys getting minutes, a lot of youth hopefully playing. Mikey Moore, please. And yeah, so that should be super exciting. And I think we're going to try and get 2 pods out a week. Obviously, it's been kind of a lull right now. But yeah, we'll be back covering North London Derby, previewing the Coventry match. And we're going to start cranking out as starts to become fall and it starts to pick up Spurs wise. So it's exciting. It's really exciting.
No doubt, man. Season's heating up. Pot will be heating up. Emerald and Lilywhite, two episodes a week, like you said. We'll be coming in and making sure there's all sorts of content. Like Max said, big preview show today. There's going to be a big match review after the Derby. Sunday, potentially Monday. I'm on the road all day Sunday, but we'll get all that worked out, guys. So don't fret. You will get an Emerald and Lilywhite episode shortly after the match on Sunday. Biggest match of the season, biggest match in quite a while. And every reason to say this is Ange Postecoglou's biggest match since he came to Spurs. I think every North London derby that will continue to increase, and we'll see some big matches outside of these North London derbies. But a super big one coming up. We need it. Spurs have got to find some momentum.
We need it.
We have to perform. Again, I'll be pragmatic and say we at least need to take a point from this match. If we don't, it's gonna be problematic. We're already trending in the wrong direction after the defeat to Newcastle and points dropped to Leicester. 4 points from our first 9 available points is just not good, considering the goals that we have. So we've got to stop the bleeding and get some points against Arsenal. So all you Spurs fans, Seattle and elsewhere, get behind the team on Sunday. Make sure you're watching. If you can get to Puyallup and Cascade, if you can get to Finney Ridge in Seattle and
get to the Wits. I'll be at the Wits.
Max will be there.
Yeah. This is massive. I love this term, using this phrase right here. It's not a must win, but it's a must not lose. We can't lose. We can't understate the importance of this game. So I'm hyped. I'm hyped.
Let's go. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
for
you
everybody.
Spurs.
We'll wrap it up for everybody at Emerald and Lilywhite. We appreciate your time. You can find me at Scott G. Bird. You can find Max at Going Limbs. You can find us at and Lilywhite on Twitter, _ and Lilywhite on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. And make sure, excuse me, make sure you turn into Seattle Spurs too. It's Seattle Spurs at Seattle Spurs on Twitter and Seattle Spurs on YouTube, Seattle Spurs on Instagram. Find us, tune in, get to one of the bars if you're in Seattle. The Spurs community is growing not only across the world but in Seattle. We want you to be a part of it. We appreciate everybody's time. Please like and subscribe to the show as we continue to grow the Spurs presence in Seattle. And as Max said earlier, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Fuck Arsenal.